Greetings, upstanders. Dr. O here, and unfortunately, I did take the opportunity to watch the new Superman movie over the weekend. There may be some spoilers in here. There probably will be, just so you know. Unfortunately, it's time I can't get back, but it was good family time. Got to see it with my bro. That was good. So it was a terrible movie for many reasons, but what I did not expect was the types of backlash that have come to this movie. Also, that has come to this movie for people who have not seen the movie. First of all, they're calling it "quote unquote" too woke, and as y'all know, in my upcoming book Trigger Words, I'm challenging people on using terms they haven't defined. They also said it was too pro-immigrant, pro-illegal immigrant story because the director James Gunn said that it at the end of the day it was an immigrant story. And then the most recent one I read is that the movie was anti-Semitic and anti-Israel because of the whole plot scene of a nation, not the United States, but a nation being ready to invade a poorer nation, and Superman is working to stop that. And because the invading nation is majority white and the people being invaded are brown people, they're saying that James Gunn is making a commentary on Gaza and Israel. He started writing this movie in late October 23. Apparently, it was finished in 2024. So it was happening during all of this time that's been going on with Israel Gaza. And I'm just like, man, folks can't catch a break. I'm just like, at the same time that these people who are in the MAGAverse are condemning the movie, you got Trump putting out pictures of him as Superman. When Trump was rising to power in 2016 and was president during his first term, there were all of these comparisons to Superman. They were making comics of him as Superman and so on and so forth. And now all of a sudden, because Gunn says that this is an immigrant story, now all of a sudden it's a term that they can't define, woke. And then on top of that, people saying that the box office numbers are going to hurt because it's anti-Semitic and it's pro-Israel and all of that. And I thought that, what about the whole thing about art imitating life, life imitating art? Like, what about all of that? If I'm reading this correctly, the weekend box office, because Dean Cain, who played Superman at one point in Lois and Clark, who in one scene actually got challenged for his green card, he said that this immigrant commentary about Superman is going to hurt its numbers and so on and so forth. The joint did over what 100. I'm looking at this $122 million in its debut. Um, I'm looking at IGN.com, and they're saying $217 million box office opening. And he's saying that the movie resonates powerfully. So, first of all you MAGA folks who are trying to get out there and talk about it being it's going to backfire, it clearly didn't work. Some of these guys were even on their platforms on Fox and these other networks saying that his sign, the logo, the S on his chest, actually represents MS-13. Like, this is what people were doing. And so people never really talk about Superman that much as an immigrant story. But James Gunn was trying to talk about it. He was trying to humanize Clark Kent and Superman. There's a scene in the line which I thought was in the movie, which I thought was ridiculous when Superman says, "I'm just as human as you." I'm like, literally, you're not. But that's neither here nor there. But also, why can't the government of Israel be critiqued? Right? We're not talking about anti-Semitism. We're not talking about hate crimes. We're not talking about those real things that should be challenged. But even if, as far as I can tell, Gunn hasn't spoken on this yet. But even if the movie was based on what he was seeing happening, with Israel and Palestine, why can't that be discussed? Why can't that be discussed? Why is it that a leader who is can't go to various countries because he'll be arrested for war crimes, a man who, if Mamdani said, wins in New York, if he comes to New York he's going to be arrested. He's skipping international routes to come to places where he can't be arrested, where you got organizations like Amnesty International and others talking about genocide. Like, why can't people make art about that? The current death toll in Gaza is almost 60,000. And so, even if the movie was a commentary on that, isn't that what art is supposed to do? Isn't it amazing how you can get critiqued? Well, You can get critiqued now and penalized in this country more for criticizing a foreign nation than criticizing your own nation. Well, that's kind of changing under Trump because he's trying to shut down dissent in this country for sure. So that kind of mindset is changing. But the fact of the matter is, outside of Superman being a terrible movie, for reasons I can get into in another video, if somebody wanted to tell a story that would help people embrace more immigrants, why not? If somebody wants to tell a story about the contributions that immigrants can actually make to this country if given a chance, then why not? And if people want to call something like that woke, and they were never doing this when like Man of Steel came out, everything was about we need more Supermen in this country, we need more Ubermen, and all of this other type of stuff. But just because James Gunn talk about this being some type of an immigrant story that should be celebrated, these folks lose their minds. And look, Superman's a white immigrant. But they're like, oh, this is illegal immigration and all of this other type of stuff. And here's the most recent example. Isn't it amazing how narratives can change over the years? And so, if you saw it, I would love your thoughts. Look, I definitely did not walk out of that movie thinking that this was a commentary on what was happening in Israel, Palestine. Now that people have said it, I absolutely can see how it was or how it could be interpreted that way. And my thing is, if people are going to, any type of movie that I've seen, look, I watched freaking Zootopia, and someone hit me later that this joint is actually about the crack epidemic. When you look at the whole thing with super predators and all of this other type of stuff, and if you look at a lot of these movies, there are racial undertones, there are political undertones, there are sexist undertones, there are homophobic undertones in all types of movies. That's what they do. And so, I'd be interested in seeing what your take is on this movie. But even larger than that, we're in a dangerous space right now when people are being told that they can't make movies that might hint at something, that might critique something that might be happening in another place. And I think that's just ridiculous. I would love to see some type of movie that kind of has some undertones relating to Congo, or maybe even some overtones. I'm just saying, anyone who's out there. So yeah, I think that it's really these guys are grasping at straws, and I think that people are just starting to get tired of these MAGA folks pulling everything possible to try to twist it into some narrative about the white man being attacked and destroyed because things are woke, pro-immigrant, and as well anti-Israel. I think it's very problematic, and I'm hoping that most people are seeing through this nonsense, because that's exactly what it is, nonsense. And I'm not saying conversations about anti-Semitism are nonsense, because those are real. Just like I wouldn't say a commentary about Islamophobia or anything like that, are nonsense, because those are real things. But this movie being used as a tool to say that this is going to promote more anti-Israeli sentiment, I'm just not feeling that. I'm just not seeing that. And I believe that Netanyahu, similar to Trump, who are both committing war crimes in many different areas, are both doing things that are worthy of critique and condemnation. And if a movie does that in some way, shape, or form, I'm all for it. What do you think? Peace.